Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, March 26th, and I am sitting in my living room. It's about 6:30 in the morning, and it's raining up here in Alpine. So I don't know what your weather looks like down where you live, but anyway, I am sitting on my couch with a cup of tea, and I wanted to give you guys a few lessons on evidence sentences because I've been getting some questions and I wanted to address them. So first of all, I wanted to thank Alexis for asking for more support. Alexis, that is exactly what you need to be doing during this time. We need to be asking each other for support and for help. And I hope this helps. And if any of you have questions, you can email me or you can send a remind. So be sure to stay in contact with me. You can also get in contact with me through Google Classroom. Okay, so let's get straight to it. Evidence sentences in To Kill a Mockingbird are going to look a lot like the sentences that we made for our first argumentative essay, but let's go through this document and I will also be posting it for you. So we're going to look at an evidence sentence with the following quote. It looks like a pumpkin. And this is on page 93. And one thing that Alexis asked is, how do I find the evidence in my book? So you have to go back to your notes and look at your chapter notes, and it will help you remember what that chapter was about, and then that will help you find your evidence. So for example, it looks like a pumpkin. You probably remember that that came from the chapter when Miss Maudie's house burnt down. Okay, so evidence sentences include what we call a transition, the contextual lead-in, the evidence in quotation marks, citation, and a period. Now, some reminders that we have to adhere to is that we talk in present tense when we write about a piece of literature, and we need to write the evidence exactly as you found it in the book. So when you put quotation marks around something, it's saying, I took this from the book. I promise you it's exactly like this. It's one of those things that you as a reader are adhering to those rules that everybody knows that if it's in quotation marks, you took it from someplace. So you can't change things up just because you want to. If you change things up, you have to either use brackets because you are actually changing a word. And so you replace a word with another word and you put it in brackets. Or if you cut things out, you use ellipses. And ellipses are those things that look like 3 dots. 1, 2, 3. Those little ellipses. And then another reminder is that contextual lead-ins have to flow with the evidence in the quotation marks. It all has to sound like one sentence. It can't sound like 2 sentences. It has to sound like one sentence. So an evidence sentence has to sound like one sentence, even if there are numerous sentences in the evidence itself. The whole contextual lead-in has to flow with the evidence like one sentence. Okay, so the way that we make that contextual lead-in, which is frankly the toughest part of an evidence sentence, is you have to tell who's talking right here, who's there. It looks like a pumpkin. What are they looking at? Well, they're looking at Miss Maudie's house burned down. When? When is this happening? It's a little after 1 in the morning in the middle of the night. And then where is it happening? It's happening in front of the Radley Gate. So you don't say it's in chapter 4 or chapter 5. You don't need to say that. What you want to do is you want to give your reader a sense of exactly where this happened in the book and what was going on. So if you can answer who, what, when, and where, you don't have to answer all of them with every contextual lead-in, but if you attempt to do at least 2 or 3 of those, you'll give us some good context. So here are some sample evidence sentences that would receive full credit. Let's start with this one in A. Thus, in the middle of the night, a little after 1, Scout and Jem are standing in front of the Radley's gate watching Miss Maudie's house burning down, and Scout claims, comma, Jem, it looks like a pumpkin. Lee 93, period. Notice that this part flows into it. So this could be its own sentence right here. And you could put a period and say Scout claims, but a comma and Scout claims is perfect. Okay, here's another one. Here's the transition, for instance, and here's the contextual lead-in. In the early morning, when the fire is escalating, Scout and Jem are watching the commotion at Miss Maudie's house from in front of the Radley place, and Scout exclaims to Jem, comma, it looks like a pumpkin. Lee 93. Here's another one. Here's a transition, for example, comma. When Scout and Jem are in front of the Radley place at 1 in the morning to stay safe from a fire burning at Miss Maudie's house, comma, they watch and Scout notes, comma, it looks like a pumpkin. Lee 93, period. So if you look here, you're going to find that these are in past tense. You have the verbs in past tense, and we don't want to do that. So let's change it. For instance, when Scout stood outside of the Radley house, instead of stood, what could it be? Stands. Just after 1 in the morning, she said to Jem, instead of said, which is past tense, put it in present tense. She says to Jem, while they watched Miss Maudie's house go into flames, instead of watched, it would be watch. So now it's in present tense. For instance, when Scout stands outside of the Radley house just after 1 in the morning, she says to Jem while they watch Miss Maudie's house go into flames that it looks like a pumpkin. So now we have those in present tense. There are 3 things wrong with this one, and you need to make at least 2 corrections. So let's take a look at it. For instance, in the early morning, while standing safely in front of the Radley gate, Scout notices that men are backing away from Miss Maudie's burning house, and Scout says to her brother, Jem, it looks like a pumpkin. Well, there's nothing wrong with that one. There's nothing wrong. I don't even know what's wrong with that one. Pretend that didn't happen. That is super lame. I don't even know why I have that. How annoying. Okay, let's put it in red because we're so annoyed with it. Let's even highlight it in red so that we don't even see it. Okay, goodbye. Okay, so then this section, this evidence sentence is missing some things. Wait, let me first see if it is missing some things. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so let's see what it's missing. For instance, when Scout and Jem are watching Miss Maudie's house burning a little after 1, Jem, it looks like a pumpkin. Lee, page 93. Okay, well, first of all, what? After 1, Jem, it looks like a pumpkin? Like, that does not even make sense. If you said that to me and I weren't reading it, I wouldn't even know that there was a quote. It's super random. So I have to prep that quote. This is what I mean by it doesn't flow. If it doesn't flow with the evidence, it's not one full sentence. So Miss Maudie's house burning a little after 1, comma, and Scout says to Jem, comma, and I'm going to get rid of that part because I don't need it. It looks like a pumpkin. Now you might say, Mrs. Werland, why didn't you use the ellipses at the beginning? You could. You don't have to. You don't have to because it's at the beginning of a quote. You can basically start a quote anywhere you want. You can even have it, she says to Jem that it appears to be a, and then you could even do this. I don't like it as much, but you could. Pumpkin. Now, you don't put Lee page 93. It's just Lee 93. And then at the very end, you need a period. I hope that helps you figure out how to write evidence sentences. And feel free to watch this again to make sure that you know how to do it. I wish you luck. Remember to keep in touch with me. Bye, guys.